Leaves as markers. As you can see, this is a pretty bright red leaf. At least here in person it is. There's some dingy, maybe darker spots. I don't even honestly know. Looking around here, I don't even know where it came from. Well, actually, I think I found it right here. This tree right here is just starting to form a few. And I guess because we're coming to the end of summer, and fall is really that much closer than I think sometimes. But this is the only one that I've been able to find on the entire ground of this particular woodland area. And the reason for this video is that when you have something this rare, something that kind of catches you off guard, you're like, oh, that's a red leaf, and there's no other red leaves anywhere. You're like, okay, I don't see any red leaves. This could be used as a trail marker. Of course, you can find other anomalies in your environment and use them as a trail marker, but let's just say that you set up camp and you're not familiar with that area that you have camp in. Things like this, taped or positioned in different places. It could be on a tree, in a bark, because as you know, there's like trees that have bark that are open, and you can tuck things in or jam things in. You could take a couple twigs and just kind of pinch it, those twigs in between, with this leaf in between, and jam it into maybe a piece of a bark. Or even shove this in between, slide it into a piece of bark. And so if you could even find even more than just one, that would be even better to have, obviously a few. If you wanted to do a small, very quick scout, maybe no more than a few 100 feet away, and maybe like every 20 to 25 feet, you want to put a marker just in case for some reason you get totally, preoccupied and you lose your bearing for a second. Of course, you should have a compass, and you should be aware of, where the sun is in the sky, of course, when you're moving away from camp. And there's all kind of other tips that you probably know. But just in case, you forget to do some of that and you get turned around, at least you can go, okay, there's my leaves, and I can take it back to my camp. You can never, underestimate the little things, trail markers, navigation, and techniques. Now, if you're in some of the environments that I live, like if I was to go straight back here and go, another 1,000 or so feet in the woods, it gets a lot more dense. This is all relatively new growth, and trees have been pretty much, thinned out in this particular part of the woods. So if you go way back there, once again, you're going to probably need some markers. I mean, even for me that I know this area pretty well, it can be, I can get a little turned around. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because the canopy above you starts to get more dense, and it can get kind of dark out there. Even in the middle of the day, it can get dark in the woods, and especially in really, really, dense forest, as you probably know. So this is one of the reasons why, if you can't use the sun as a reference, and there's no ambient noise that is, really directing you to saying, okay, there, it's like sometimes when my neighbor's dogs bark, and if I'm way back in the woods, I can go, oh, okay, that's in a certain direction, compared to where I live, and I can usually follow that sound. But most of the time where I'm at, I can find little openings to look up and find the sun, and then go, okay, I know where I'm at. So really, I have the sun. I have even the wind sometimes. I try to check that before I go out. I have some noises, and of course, if I ever really got screwed, and I was stuck out there, which I've never had it, I never got stuck out on my own property. But let's just say that I was oblivious, and there was no dog barking, and there was no sun out. It was completely overcast, and there was no wind blowing. It would be horrible. And I'm on a part of the property that I've never been on before, let's just say. Then I still have the night sky, hopefully, that I could use. Hopefully it's not too overcast to see that. All else fails, and you have to improvise, make your own, your own type of needle system to make your own compass and so forth. So just don't forget to use little things that are a little bit more or less of the kind of the what you would call anomaly that stands out. As you can see, you can still see it here. You can still see that leaf. Even when you move around and you come back, you can still see that little red little dot. And in person, it's very bright. So this is something that you can't use, of course, all through fall and stuff, because you're going to see a bazillion of these running around. So you'd have to find something else. That's why if you can use, something that you bring, at least it'll be more consistent. Such as maybe it's a certain bright color of duct tape. Maybe it's a reflective tape. Maybe it's a bandana. Maybe you bring a few extra bandanas. So if you ever had to want to rip a couple of them up and make strips out of the bandana, I think there's a lot of those neon orange ones are really good. Then you could do that. They even make like really, really handy signal flags. They're just like really small, like square, really durable. Like I guess it's just plastic, but it's almost like a vinyl plastic. And you can take them and tie them. Some of them are larger than others, but and you can just kind of take them and tie them around a small tree limb at about eye level, and that would work too. So as always, you guys take care. Hopefully these tips will be as helpful for navigation and trail marking, especially when you're around camp, and maybe just to start the idea and the thinking process of not getting lost, because this is a very bad feeling. I'm sure that everybody here has probably at one time or another have gotten lost when they were driving somewhere they have really never been before, and you were trying to meet up with a friend at that coffee shop or meet up at a new friend's house that you've never been to before, and they said, oh, just go to this street, take a right left, right left, and go down under the tunnel and through the woods and to grandma's house. And you're like, holy crap, I missed those last 4 directions, but because I'm so cool and I'm a guy, I just went ahead and just said, oh yeah, I know where you live. And then you try to get there, and 10 hours later you show up and they're already sleeping. And they're calling the police because you're banging on their door. And those kind of situations are kind of just, a reminder that you can get lost anywhere. You really can. I mean, I will be honest with you. Even on my own property at one time when I first moved here, I've got lost a few times. And so I've had to kind of work with, just a little bit of panic was set in, and you kind of just acknowledge that you're screwed a little bit, but you can overcome. And, after like 20 minutes of walking, I walked myself out of it. But, you can get turned around even on a smaller property. I mean, I don't even have that much land per se, but when you're surrounded by other woods, your land seems so much bigger because what happened actually, I walked over by accident on someone else's property. Not too far in, but just a little bit. So I got way back on my property, and then I got turned around and thinking that I was going in one direction when I wasn't. I wasn't going south, I was actually going east, and I was walked over onto someone else's property. And before I know it, I was like, oh my gosh, man, I'm hearing different noises than I've never heard on my property. I don't even think I'm on my property. And it was right, I was definitely off. And so I got reoriented, finally got back to my place, and boy, I tell you what, I had almost no water left too. I was like one sip away from having no water, and that wasn't a good feeling. So from then on out, I brought like 2 extra bottles of water, and I brought a compass, and I brought what I'm talking about today here, just different trail markers, and marked the crap out of my trails to the point that it's kind of ridiculous. I went probably every 20 feet and put big, massive yellow, I guess it was polyester. I think it was polyester coating I had, and I cut up all this cording and made these big ties at eye level. And anyways, so that's my little story. You guys take care.